Well, the reason that we're chatting is because I reached out to Scott Schorr, and you guys have a project that is just coming out or has just come out that you and he worked on. And so tell me a little bit about that and how that came around.
Okay, that's MFTJ,
Mm-hmm.
which I know that it's not a secret what that stands for, but I think you have to buy the album to figure it out. um, and that was just the result of a sort of a long gestating musical relationship, or even just a friend relationship between he and I. We had met through the fact that I was doing a lot of work with Marco Minnemann,
Mm-hmm.
and Scott was releasing and working with Marco on his solo albums on Lazy Bones, and the Eeps came out, and which was a Marco solo record, really good,
Mm-hmm.
really great record of Marco's that Scott put out on Lazy Bones, and I just saw that Lazy Bones had the ability to take an album like that and get it out into people's consciousness, and I was impressed by that. Well, of course, it was a great album too, but not every great album gets heard, so that was definitely, it got my attention. So I met Scott when I was out on the road with Satriani, and we hung out a few times and we got along. And every time we would see each other, like every time we connected when I was out on the road, we would just like the connection would get just a bit stronger. And then finally in late 2018, we hung out in Australia on a Satriani tour, and it was just like, dude, we should do something. We should do something together. And then a month later, he emailed me and said, I've got an idea for an album. And that turned out to be MFTJ. And he, was creating these rhythm tracks just from the ground up on his own, playing drums and bass and with synth textures and stuff. And so he sent me these grooves that were already really cool. And then I went into the studio and started overdubbing stuff on it. And the idea was just to go in and improvise. And he's like, just go into the studio, spend a day, so that it wasn't a long protracted period for me, because I had other projects happening at the time. So he's like, you don't have to like be just like bursting your brain over this. Just go into the studio and play what feels right to you over these grooves. Send me all those tracks, and I'll do what I do as an editor, because that's, that was especially like on that Levin Torn White record, that he really, in many ways created what that music was through editing.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that idea. I love that process of just like throwing something at the wall and letting somebody else see what stuck,
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to approach it from a completely, right-brained, intuitive and instinctive way, and just improvise in the studio over these grooves. And then Scott subsequently would find the things that to his ear felt right, and then find that one little nugget of melody, or that one texture, or that one chord sequence or something that he could then recontextualize and turn it into the maybe the heart of the song, or the hook. And he would send me back the things in progress, and I'd be like, did I play that? It's like really, it was this amazing process of discovery for me, that I was always a little bit in disbelief that I had actually provided that source material, because by the time I heard it back, it sounded so cool and so organized and so correct. And that's really, a testament to Scott's ear and his instincts as an editor, that he was able to find the right stuff out of all the stuff that I threw at him.
I've been listening to it now for, I don't know, maybe a week or so, and I have a hard time categorizing what it is other than cool, and I think maybe that's kind of what we need to go to in some cases. It's just saying, instead of saying this is, like acoustic metal, or, hip hop folk, or whatever you want to call things, that
Right.
if you stop trying to pigeonhole it and just say, this is actually really cool, just take a listen.
Yeah.
It actually helps people maybe go into things more open-minded and experience it in different ways. Because if you tell them this is a really cool hip-hop folk album, or whatever you want to call it, then they're missing out, because they've already got expectations,
Yeah.
and it's already
You're
been
right.
colored. So if you just say, listen to this, tell me what you think, and you don't tell them what they're going to expect, there might be a more open-mindedness to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we live in a genre world, right? Even on Bandcamp, you have to provide some kind of genre, some kind of tag, so somebody can find it. Uh, but the reality is with some music is there isn't a genre that can contain it, you know. But hopefully people who are familiar with my past projects and people who are familiar with Scott's past projects will just, you know, find out that we've done something together and say, oh, I wonder what the result of that, alchemy might be, and check it out. And so far, the response to it has been wonderful. You know, it's exactly what you're saying. All the people really have to say about it is, wow, this is really cool. And ultimately, that's all that matters, right? It's like if people, well, I mean, coolness isn't important, but people enjoying something is, you know. It's like if you hear something, you want to get some kind of enjoyment from it, and people are responding very positively to this album.